Been some new mini games added, so I'm going to do a quick video to go over the new mini games. Sometimes you'll be given no choice, and sometimes you can plan ahead. So here, this is pretty straightforward. Killing the pirates gives you experience towards leveling up your multiplier. You want to get your multiplier as high as possible before you roll any stamina for treasure. So I'm going to take this. There's no choice. Between this and this route is clearly better. If I jump here and then here, I'll be able to go to either of these, but losing 20% isn't worth it. 20% of 55, that would be a little more than 10. So I'd lose 10 points going through that. That's not worthwhile for getting this. So it's obvious we'll go this way. As you go further and further to the event, it gets harder and harder to find a decent route. Early on, it's pretty easy to tell what a good route might be, but it gets much harder as you go. Let's see here. This is, again, pretty straightforward. Early on, these are okay, because early on you get so little that having the energy is not bad. We don't want to go through here, obviously. Getting that isn't worth going through this bad area, so we should want to take this side. If you really want to min-max this game, it's helpful to have a calculator up while you play. I guess I'll go ahead and pull a calculator up real quick. Probably not going to need to use it most of the time, but just stick that right there. Alright, so anyway, continuing on, if we jump to this middle spot here, we'll be forced to go there, so we don't want to do that. So we'll take this side. Okay, we can't beat this guy without rolling a little bit, so we only want to roll until we can beat him, no further. So it shows the next enemy up here. We're just going to press roll and skip until we get enough to beat him. It looks like I can roll 10 times, so I'll go ahead and do that. Nope, doesn't let me yet. Okay. If you're planning on unlocking this shark thing, by the way, wait until later in the event when you're getting close to a trident. You don't want to do it early on. Even if you're planning on doing it, don't do it early on. Okay, so when you start a battle with somebody, you have to explore 10 times, or later on it becomes 5 times in order to win the battle. We don't want to pass through this, so we don't want to go there. This can only jump to here. The wider one can jump to either of these. So our plan is going to be to go to here, and then to here, and then to here. Okay, so we're skipping ahead a bit. I'm going to play through the game a bit and explain what I'm doing as I go. So one of the things you need to understand when planning a route is what the size of the islands represent. So you can think of the map in this game as like a grid that has 3 spaces in it. So for example, this small island right here can jump to both of these because these ones each overlap the center grid. But this small island right here can only jump to that island. This island right here can jump to those two, but it can't jump to this one. An island that covers the whole map can jump to any island. So basically, to determine whether or not an island can jump to an island ahead of it, just look to see if there's any overlap in like the 3 grid spacing. Like for example, this guy right here, he overlaps the center grid, so he can jump to this one because it's partially on the center grid, but since it's also in this side, it can jump to that one. Whereas if this guy right here, this tiny one, was right here in the middle, it would only be able to jump to this because it would have no overlap with that guy. So that's how you can tell if they can jump to the next one or not. Just envision this as being like 3 lanes, and if the lane you're currently in has any overlap with the lane you're trying to get to, then it will be able to get to it. And if it doesn't have any overlap at all, then it won't be able to get to it. So hopefully that makes sense. That's how I think of it, to understand which islands can jump to which, and it makes sense to me. Another thing you need to understand is that the way the game works is as you progress up the map, your points gradually get sapped away, but at the same time you build up experience towards getting to a higher multiplier. And what that means is you want to save as much energy as possible for rolling later on when your multiplier is higher, and you also just want to progress as far as you can without your points getting sapped. That way you'll make it to a higher level area where you can earn more XP to increase your multiplier. So basically, you can think of this game as kind of like making an expedition forward and trying to always be just barely strong enough to go forward, and hold on to your resources as long as you possibly can, and to extend as far as you can while using as little energy as possible. So that's the goal. With that said, I'm not going to do too much more talking. I'm just going to show you how I play through it, and then we'll end the video. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this because it's already expired. Yep. All right. So moving on. I'm just waiting until that text up there changes from being red. Whoops, that's not what I meant to click on. Okay, the text up there is green. That means it's time to keep going. All right, now I'm going to look as far ahead as I can. You usually want to get the trident, but not always. It doubles your current points. Let's see. So to check and see, in order to get the trident, I have to go right here, because if I were to go here, it would funnel me away. So I would be at 29.7, take away 3.2, and then plus 1.2 equals, and then times by. So yeah, so I would still have 27 points by the time I get to the trident if I go that way, and so it would give me 27 by doubling. That's more than how much I would get here, so I clearly want to go for the trident, even though I have to eat this first, so that's fine. Just take it. These seem to be pretty bad. They're usually like worth about half as much as running into a pirate or a patch of supplies, so I usually avoid these. Just rather go for the pirate to level me up. Got to roll just a little bit here. Just waiting till that pirate turns green. There we go, the pirate's green, keep going. Alright, now let's look ahead. This is as far as I can see. So from what I can see right now, going right here seems to be terrible because that would get me stuck on this path and I would have to eat a lot of bombs. So I think I'll avoid that. Let's look ahead. I might have to make a decision here. So the decision is, do we want to go this way and get forced into taking negative 3k and then negative 2.4k? Actually, this is negative 6k combined. Or do I want to eat the negative 2k and then Like I said, this is kind of trash, so we won't really worry about that. This looks like it's a big island. That means that's where the boss is. So it looks like this path right here is the least destructive to my chances. Yep. Yeah, because going this way would be real bad. You don't want to hit that. Going this way is not great, but it's not as bad. Just think of it this way. Both of these are relatively equal to both of these, but then hitting both of these isn't nearly as bad as hitting both of those. So when you think about it that way, it's quite clear this is the correct way to go. I can't go there because that would force me down this track. I can't go here because that would force me to go onto there. All right, now roll a little bit more. Actually, I probably have to roll 10 times. I'm pretty far out away from that guy. Yeah. Even rolling 10 times didn't give me enough. Pretty close now. Oh, that was no good. Okay, it's green now, so it's time to keep going. Okay, going here looks nice, but it forces you to eat the bomb. Going this way seems okay, but then you hit an even bigger bomb. So these pretty much cancel each other out. And then I can get a pirate and then negative 4.7. Whereas if I go this way, I get a bigger pirate, which is better. The bigger the pirate is, the more XP it gives you. And these guys put together are 4.6, so that's like 3.4. So going this way, I lose 3.4, get the bigger pirate, so this way is clearly better. Because if I were to go here, I'd be forced onto those. It's probably obvious, though. All right, I'm pretty far behind this guy, so I probably need to roll 10 here. Yep, that still didn't get it. That was an unlucky roll. Try one more. Okay, I got it that time. That was a little bit of an overroll, but I'm not close to leveling up, so it doesn't matter. The only time you really need to avoid rolling any more than you have to. You want to avoid rolling any more than you possibly have to when you're close to leveling up, but I'm still far from leveling up, so overrolling a little bit isn't that big of a deal. The only problem with overrolling is when you hit these percentage negative multipliers, it takes more away from you if you overrolled. So I'm going to lose a little more here than I should have had to because I overrolled a little bit. I only needed to get to 62.7 and I rolled up to 63.4, which means I'm going to have more excess left over to be subtracted by that. So that was a minor mistake, not a huge deal, but it adds up if you play the game a long time. So that was definitely a mistake. I should have rolled in smaller increments rather than rolling by 10 there. So that was a little bit of a mistake. Before I was doing the math for this to try to see which route was better, but I've done the math through playing this game a long time, and every single time I've done the math, the route that has the negative 18% has always been better than the route that has the negative 27%. Since it's been that way every single time, I'm going to stop even bothering to do the math, and when I get presented with this choice, I'm just going to automatically take the negative 18% route. So just letting you guys know. I mean, you can do the math yourself. I guess I'll do the math. I'm not going to bother to do the math. You can do the math yourself with your own calculator if you want to see, but based on my experience, the negative 18% route pathway is always better than the negative 27% pathway. So I'm going to avoid the negative 27% pathway and just go right for the negative 18% pathway. And generally, after you hit one of these whirlpools, you're going to have to roll because it'll take a lot of juice out of you. I guess I'm going to learn from my mistake and I won't roll by 10, because last time I rolled by 10 I ended up wasting a little bit of points, and I just don't like wasting, especially not when I'm making a video, because I'm supposed to be showing you guys how to do things optimally. And so this time I will not roll by 10. Rolling by 10 is a time saver, but it does give you the risk of over-rolling, and then you'll lose a little more points than you have to. Again, though, it's not really that big of a deal. If you're short on time, just use the roll by 10. The only time you don't want to roll by 10 is if you're really trying to min-max as hard as you possibly can. Alright, he turned green, so I can keep going. Okay, so let's see how far forward I can see. I can see to the next boss, so I can see the whole path. Every time you get to a boss island, it like resets the path, because from the boss island you can go anywhere. And you have to get to the boss island. So the boss island is like a period of, you have no decision making, so it's like a reset of the choices. So if I go this way, I will get hit by negative 4.8, but I'll get plus 7.3. That's a little bit hard to do in my head for some reason, so I'll just throw it into the calculator. Whoops. Clear, clear, clear. 7.36 take away 4.88. So going this way is like the equivalent of getting plus 2.4, whereas if I went this way, it would be negative 2.6 plus the pirate. So it's not worth it to go that way. It's better to get the points rather than losing points. Even missing out on the pirate is a bummer, but I'm not close to leveling up. The only time I would take a pirate over supplies is if I'm close to leveling up. But if I'm not close to leveling up, I would prefer the supplies. Alright, now if I go this way, so on this side, 2.6 plus 2.6 equals 5.2. So 5.2 is a little bit more than 4.9, but it's not a big enough difference to get rid of the pirate. So in this case, I do prefer the pirate, and that's because the amount of points extra that I get on this side is not that much more than this side. So to me, the pirate is actually more worth it in this case. This side is pretty good path too, but this side I think is slightly better. It's a tough call. It's really a tough call, but I think this is slightly better. Alright, now I have to roll. I'm pretty far away from passing him, so I think now it's actually safe to roll by 10. I'll roll by 10 like once or twice, and then I'll slow down my rolling speed after I get closer. I'll roll once. Roll one more time. Okay, now I'm starting to get closer, so I'll stop rolling by 10. What's this button? Oh, it just tells you what that stuff is. Yeah, I'm getting pretty close. That's why I'm not rolling by 10 anymore. Rolling by 10 is a time saver, but like I said earlier, you don't want to over-roll because that's inefficient. You only want to roll just as much as you need to. Alright, it's turned green. That means I can keep going. Okie dokie doke. So basically I want to avoid this bomb because it's 3 times as big as this other stuff. So that means pirate isn't as good as supplies. So that means we go supplies, supplies. Avoid this pathway because we don't want to hit the monstrously big bomb. And take the pirate. And then we're going to have to roll quite a bit to pass this guy. So I'll do the 10 times roll again. I should have to roll 10 times at least twice, I think. Actually, that's closer than I thought. Maybe I don't have to roll 10 times. Okay, there we go. think I ended up rolling 10 times and then 9 times. So I saved just a little bit by not doing the 10 times roll twice. Now... If I go here, I'll get forced to eat that, so that's bad. This is pretty much garbage compared to that, and this one's bigger than that one, so this is better. Can't go here because I don't want to eat that massive bomb. So I go here, and then I go to the middle guy, and then to here, and then my only choice is this. Whoops, that's not what I meant to click on. I think I can roll 10 times here. Yep. And then I'm going to want to slow down my rolling speed because I'm getting closer. Ah, that was unlucky. Some pretty bad rolls. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I got a lot of bad rolls there. Nothing you can do about it. There's no way to control the RNG. The game is just throwing randomness at you to try to psychologically manipulate you into spending money, so don't worry about it. Just keep on going. Whoops, get out of my face. Alright, turn green so we can keep going. Okay, so this square is pretty bad, so we'd like to avoid it if we can. The square is pretty good, so that's probably where we'll be headed to. Both of these end up in the same spot, so you just take the one that gives more. Now before we instantly jump to this, we should see where it heads. So going this way funnels you into the negative bomb, whereas going this way lets you go there. So going this way is actually better. We don't want to go there. It's a trick. It's a trick. If we had gone that way, we would have been forced to go there. All right, now it's time to roll by 10 for it. Whoops, I meant to roll by 10. All right, we're getting pretty close. We'll roll slowly again. See, that was just a single roll, but it was a lucky roll, so it put me up above the boss. That's why we don't always roll by 10, is because we don't want to waste any more than we have to. Okay. So what we actually want to do here is go to this guy to avoid that. Then we're going to take the bomb, because taking the bomb is the only way we can avoid the bigger bombs and take that supply. So that's our plan. Yeah, if we go here, it gets forced into those two big bombs, so we're going to avoid that trap and go this way. You might have to roll by 10, or we might not have to, but I think we probably will have to. So to save a little bit of time, I'm pretty confident I'll have to roll by 10. Ooh, that gave me less than I expected. I guess I'll slow down my rolling speed. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? It's not like it takes that much longer anyway. Ooh, that was a good roll. I should only do one more roll now. There we go. Now we keep on going. This is a little bit of a tough choice. We are close to leveling up. So because we are close to leveling up, we might actually want to go for the pirates to level up sooner rather than later. So we're going to roll just a little bit more so we can take the bigger pirate. Just ignore that. Alright, and we're going to take... Ooh, I still can't beat him. I need just a little bit more. There we go. Now we'll take this big boy and get his XP in our belly. And then we're also going to take this guy. Well, actually, we'll level up either way, no matter what, before we get to the boss. So I guess that was maybe a bit of a mistake. I'm not sure. Anyway, now we leveled up and we can roll. Our rolls are stronger now, so we don't need to roll by 10. It's actually taking a bit longer than I thought it would. We're getting unlucky rolls. There we go, that was a pretty good one. That was a really good one. Alright, there we go. Now let's take a look. That's pretty bad. But we can go here, then here, then here, then here, then there. Ooh. Well, like I said before, the negative 18% route almost always seems to end up being better, so that's what we're going to go for. Negative 27% is an additional 9%, which is usually, well, 9% is almost 10%, and 10% of my current power would be like 12,000. So you can think of this as being like negative 11,000. More than that one, I mean. Man, this is really tough to decide, though. Should I do the math? I guess I will. So it's 126.56 take away 4.064 take away 4.079 equals, and then times by 0.82 equals, I'd be at 97 if I went this route, and I would also miss out on that, which is worth like another, it's worth about 4K more than this, so I'll penalize myself another 4K for going that way. So this route is worth about 93 in the end. 93 on this side, whereas if I were to go this way, it would be 126.56 take away 7.627 equals times by 0.079 86. Other out we said it was worth 93. This one's worth 86. So doing the math, it is better to go to this side. Like I said, when I do the math, it almost always, well, actually every single time, it's been better to go the negative 18% way. So that's what I always do. Oops, I have to roll to get past this guy now. Alright, and up we go. I wasn't allowed to go there, obviously, because there's no intersection. Alright, well, I think I've played enough of it now that you guys can understand how you make the decision on where to go. So there's a few last things that I will mention. If you're thinking you're going to be able to get into the summit, there's no need to hurry, because your ocean token score is pretty much just a function of how far you manage to get, because there is no skill element whatsoever to attacking other players. It just requires you to have enough stamina to advance. So if you want to get in the summit, there's no penalty for waiting until the last day to do your climb. Spending money on this game is incredibly ineffective, but compared to some other mini games, the amount of stamina you get for diamonds isn't as bad. And by that I mean it's not as inefficient as it is to buy this pack for other mini games. It's still not a very efficient value, but if you have a choice between dumping dollars or dumping diamonds, it's relatively less wasteful to dump diamonds. So I really don't advise spending money on this game. Even if you're a whale, you'd be better off funneling diamonds into it. Well, unless money is no object, and in that case, go crazy. But that's pretty much all I have to say. I guess one other thing that I will throw out there is I have finished optimizing my ideal AREG for Arena. Basically what you want is either 4 or 5 of the crit chance increasers, and then 3 or 4 of the crit damage increasers. And I could explain the math of why that's so. But I feel like you guys have watched me mess around with the calculator enough anyway, so you can just take my word for it or don't. It's up to you. But this is the best combination I've found. To just briefly explain it, you don't want to fill up too many, because part of the reason why this is inefficient is because as it randomly selects them, it makes it more likely to select the other ones. And if you put in too many, then it increases the odds that it will select more of one or the other before it starts selecting the other kind. So filling it up too much actually can be a little bit counterproductive. By the time you select this many AREGs, you'll be one-shotting the entire enemy team anyway, so there's no point in filling up the rest of the slots. Basically, the crit chance multipliers combined with crit damage multipliers are just overpowered. I believe your critical strike chance starts at 10%, and each one of these increases it by 16%. So when all of these kick in, you'll be at 10% crit chance plus 16% times by 5. So you'll be at 90% crit chance once you have drank all of these AREGs. So you'll be critting almost 100% of the time. It's not really efficient to put in another one because you don't really need to. 90% is good enough, and the extra 6% would be wasted because you can't go above 100% crit chance. And then as far as these ones go, obviously crit damage is better and better the more likely you are to crit. So they synergize very well with the crit chance ones. Base critical damage, I believe, is 100%. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think it is. So you'll be going by 100% extra damage plus 160 4 times. So once all these crit damage multipliers are added, when your advisors will be doing 740% more damage basically every attack. So basically once you've drank all these elixirs, all your advisors will basically be doing 7 times normal damage, which is an insane amount. They'll basically be one-shotting almost all of the enemies, even the strong ones, assuming your team is halfway decent. So this is the ideal configuration. Feel free to use it. It's not that expensive to get. It usually only takes me maybe 5 minutes of brewing air egg to get these. So that's your ideal arena setup. And as far as Talent Rush goes, especially since it's getting easier and easier to get Marco Polo presents from things other than rushes now, I think I would conclusively say that winning Talent Rush is definitely better than winning Sov Rush. Meaning that Talent Rush is the most important rush to win, but it's also one of the most tricky because it gets bid up to insane values, and then you have to think about the Sov that you're wasting when you use too much talent too. So here's my thoughts on Talent Rush. I think it is more efficient to try to get second place in Talent Rush frequently than it is to try to go for first place occasionally. And the reason behind that is, well, first of all, first place will always get bid up to insane amounts anyway. But aside from the fact that first place will always get bid up a lot, look at this. Second place only gives 5 less talent pouches. It only gives 20 less queen seals. Basically, in everything else other than the general seals, second place isn't that far behind first place. And I often see first place bid up to almost double second place. Not always, but it frequently happens. Another thing you have to consider is that if you're only going for second place, the amount of talent you have to use isn't nearly as extremely high. And that means if you unequip all your pets before you go for the Talent Rush, but drop your Sov by unequipping all these pets, and if you go to the Warrior Pillar and unequip whoever's in your Warrior Pillar, I think I've already done that, so you won't see anybody in there for me. Yep. So if you unequip your pets and you unequip your advisors from the Warrior Pillar, you can probably drop your Sov by like 50, 60, maybe even 100 million. And when you drop your Sov by that much, all that talent that you spend to get second place in Talent Rush is probably not going to go to waste, because it won't be enough to bring your all-time high Sov to a new score. So that's my theory. Another thing to consider is when you try to go for first, you go way past that 1K milestone, and you stop getting any new benefits from the milestones because you're just way above the maximum milestone. Whereas if you go for second place or even third place in the Talent Rush frequently, then you aren't wasting as much of the milestone because you're not exceeding it by as much. So all of that is just to say, I personally believe that in many cases it is a lot more effective to repeatedly get second in Talent Rush rather than going for first. And so that's my take on it. With all that said, I don't really have anything else to cover in this video. I hope you liked the video. It may be one of the last that I make. I might make another video if another minigame comes out, but other than that, I'm not really planning on making any more videos. So feel free to post any questions or comments, and I will respond. Thanks.